Today we are going over the 138 times Tom Brady proved he was the greatest of all time. We'll go in chronological order, starting with his high school days. In high school football, Tom Brady wasn't very fast at completing a footwork exercise called the 5-dot drill. So his solution? Spray paint those 5 dots on his garage floor and work on it all summer. Those dots would be a springboard for some of the best footwork the NFL has ever seen. At Michigan, Brady worked his way from 7th on the depth chart to eventual starter. It was there he became known as the Comeback Kid after a string of dramatic come-from-behind victories. None of those victories were greater than the Orange Bowl comeback when Brady led them back from 2 different 14-point deficits to top Alabama. After falling to pick 199 in the 2000 NFL Draft, Brady met Patriots owner Robert Kraft for the first time and told him, "I'm the best decision this organization has ever made." Even still, he began his pro career as 4th on the depth chart, but by the end of his rookie year, he'd impressed coaches enough to become the immediate backup to Pro Bowl quarterback Drew Bledsoe. Before the 2001 season, Brady had already called his high school coach and told him that if he gets a chance at the starting job, then it will never be taken away from him. Week 2, 2001, Bledsoe famously got knocked out of the game, and Brady led a team that went 5-11 the previous year all the way to the playoffs. In just his first year as a starter, he was named to the Pro Bowl. And in his first playoff game, he led a 10-point fourth quarter comeback to come out victorious in a Foxborough blizzard. After a high ankle sprain in the AFC Championship, Brady was healthy enough to start Super Bowl 36. He then conducted an iconic game-winning drive over the 14-point favorite Rams that gave John Madden chills. He was named the Super Bowl MVP. He was also the youngest quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl. But that offseason was when he delivered his famous line, "My favorite ring is the next one." The very next season, Brady led the league in touchdowns. Around this time, he took part in a charity basketball game against some local firefighters. His Patriot teammates weren't quite taking it seriously and might have had something to drink beforehand. Midway through the third, they were down, and Brady pulled them aside and screamed, "We're not losing to a bunch of freaking Walpole firefighters." After that, he hit a series of threes in a comeback win. In 2003, he helped direct a 12-game winning streak as the Patriots finished with the best record in the NFL. That year, Rodney Harrison would show up at 6:30 in the morning and find Brady greeting him with a "good afternoon." So Rodney started showing up earlier and earlier, yet receiving the same response, to the point where he told Tom, "I don't give a damn what you say, I'm not coming in earlier than 5:30. Although Brady still hadn't entered his prime yet, he finished top 3 in MVP voting. After defeating Peyton Manning's Colts in the AFC Championship, Brady once again led a game-winning drive to win the Super Bowl. He won his second Super Bowl MVP as he threw for 3 touchdowns. And he also set the record for most completions in Super Bowl history. In 2004, Brady and the Patriots continued their winning streak from the prior season as they racked up 21 straight wins over the course of the 2 seasons. Yet another NFL record. Brady was named to another Pro Bowl, and the Patriots at 14-2 finished with the best record ever for a defending champ. They opened up the playoffs with a win over the Colts. Then Brady came down with a 103-degree fever the night before the AFC Championship. Despite that, he led a furious 41-27 win over the 15-1 Steelers, who possessed the best defense in the league. In Super Bowl 39, Brady came out on top yet again, with the 04 Patriots being the last team to win back-to-back Super Bowls. They also had won 3 out of 4, cementing their legacy as a dynasty. Around this time, Brady committed his life to longevity. He changed his diet for good and started implementing more stretches and recovery exercises in his routine. In 2005, despite a number of injuries on the offense, Brady led the league in passing yards. He once again finished top 3 in MVP voting and was named to another Pro Bowl. In the playoffs, he threw for 3 touchdowns in a win while playing through a groin injury, although after that, his all-time playoff win streak to start a career would end at 10-0. In 2006, despite his best receiver being Rashae Caldwell, Brady led the Patriots to a 12-4 record and an AFC championship. In 2007, he erupted for an NFL record 50 touchdown passes. He became the first and only quarterback to ever go 16-0 in the regular season. He was named NFL MVP for a season that is considered as one of the best ever played for any player throughout history. The average Patriots score that year was 37-17. In Week 7 against the Dolphins, Brady threw for 6 touchdowns on 25 passes. That's 24% of his passes resulting in touchdowns. Even still, Brady doesn't consider that the best game of that season. He says the 56-10 win over the Bills actually tops it. He threw for 5 TDs that day. When the Patriots were 12-0, Steelers safety Anthony Smith guaranteed a Pittsburgh win. Well, it didn't take long for a Brady touchdown over Smith. It's estimated that around this time, Brady started paying practice squad players who would pick him off, as a reward for them, but also for him to get better. To open the playoffs, Brady went 26 of 28, breaking the completion percentage record in a game with at least 20 attempts. After a Super Bowl heartbreaker and torn ACL in the 2008 season opener, Brady was left yearning to play again for an entire year. On March 1st, 2009, former defensive back Sean Springs visited Foxborough for a free agency visit. After a blizzard hit the night before, he arrived around 7 a.m. and found none other than Tom Brady watching film of Super Bowl 42. That was the moment Springs decided he wanted to play for the Patriots. Week 1, 2009, Brady returned and threw for 378 yards in another comeback win. In an October blizzard, he threw for an NFL record 5 touchdowns in 1 quarter as the Patriots rocked the Titans 59-0. That year, offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien was going over an opposing defensive coordinator in a team meeting. Brady recalled the scheme from 2004 that the coordinator ran, and recalled an exact play that worked against it. When O'Brien doubted all the specific details of the play, Brady challenged him to find it. Naturally, when they looked it up, it was exactly how Brady remembered. Despite battling through a broken finger on his throwing hand and 3 broken ribs, he was named the NFL's Comeback Player of the Year. In 2010, Brady threw for a 36-4 touchdown-to-interception ratio. He became the NFL's first ever unanimous MVP and guided the Patriots to a 14-2 record. In the 2011 opener, Brady threw for 517 yards, a number that ranks top 10 in NFL history. The Patriots went 13-3 despite having a defense that ranked bottom 3 in yards allowed and defensive value. Brady threw for what was the second highest passing yardage in a single season ever. In the playoffs, he tied an NFL record for most playoff touchdowns in a game with 6. Despite throwing for a Super Bowl record 16 consecutive completions with a separated shoulder, Brady and the Patriots lost to the Giants. In 2012, the Patriots had by far the highest scoring offense in the league, as Brady threw for 34 touchdowns. After the divisional round, Brady passed Joe Montana for the most career playoff wins. In the 2013 offseason, Julian Edelman, merely an afterthought in the Patriots offense at this point in his career, was invited into Brady's home gym. He had never seen what became known quite simply as the board. The board is updated every year with 2 words, a number, and a date. Those words are Super Bowl, along with the corresponding number and the date of the game. Edelman asked Brady how crazy it was to be chasing Joe Montana. Brady responded that he wasn't chasing Montana, he was chasing Michael Jordan. In 2013, the Patriots' 2 tight end offense fell apart with Gronk being injured and Aaron Hernandez being arrested. Despite all that, Brady finished second in MVP voting and clawed his way to the AFC Championship. That year, he also delivered 2 classics with a last-second win over the Saints and a 24-point comeback over the Broncos. After a 2-2 start to the 2014 season, some members of the media declared Brady's career as over. The very next week, he delivered a 35-point thrashing of the Bengals to let the world know that he wasn't even close to being done. Brady led the Patriots to the 1 seed, and just like he did in the Orange Bowl, he came back down 14 twice against the Ravens in a playoff epic. After dismantling the Colts in the AFC Championship, Brady advanced to a record 6th Super Bowl appearance. In Super Bowl 49, he led a 10-point fourth-quarter comeback against the vaunted Legion of Boom defense. With 4 touchdowns that game, he won his 4th Super Bowl and 3rd Super Bowl MVP. That tied him with his childhood hero Joe Montana for the most ever. In reflection of that season, Darrelle Revis called Brady's competitive spirit and desire to win a sickness that took him over every single day. In 2015, Brady had another year where things fell apart around him. 19 players were sent to season-ending injured reserve. Somehow, someway, Brady finished second in MVP voting as he delivered 36 touchdowns and a 12-4 record. You wouldn't know it by the stats, but in the AFC Championship, Brady delivered a vintage performance. With his center tipping the snap, Brady was hit 20 times. And he still almost pulled off a miracle win against the eventual Super Bowl champions. That game came down to a 2-point conversion after Stephen Gostkowski missed an extra point. In 2016, Brady lost just one game with a historical 28-2 touchdown to interception ratio. That year, he became the NFL's all-time winningest quarterback with his 201st career win. With MVP caliber play at quarterback, the Patriots clinched their record 8th straight division title. In the AFC Championship, Brady destroyed the Killer Beast Steelers with a 36-point onslaught. That night, he stayed up until 1:30 in the morning studying the Falcons roster because he couldn't sleep. In Super Bowl 51, the Patriots famously trailed 28-3. Newspapers had already been printed with a loss stamped to the cover. But Brady delivered the greatest comeback in NFL history to win his 5th championship, breaking a tie with Montana for the most ever by a quarterback. He won his 4th Super Bowl MVP to add yet another record to his name. And he broke the record for most passing yards in a Super Bowl with 466. In 2017, Brady became the oldest quarterback to ever start all of his team's games at the age of 40. In Week 3, he delivered an iconic 5-touchdown last-minute win. He also won NFL MVP while going 13-3. Obviously, that would be the oldest MVP ever. After a divisional round win, Brady suffered a serious hyperextension on his throwing hand during practice, leading up to the AFC Championship. The skin was split and the cut was deep enough that you could see down to the bone. The surgeon said in 99% of those cases, there would have been a fracture or dislocation. But it seems Brady's years of pliability training had paid off. With the surgeon on the sidelines on game day, just in case something went wrong, Brady mailed in another 4th-quarter comeback to send his team to the Super Bowl. Although the Patriots lost, Brady was nearly perfect, throwing for 505 yards, breaking the Super Bowl and playoff passing yards record. That year, Brady had told his opponents in a documentary, "If you're going to compete against me, you better be willing to give up your life, because I'm giving up mine." During the 2018 season, Brady threw his 500th touchdown to Josh Gordon, who became the record 71st different receiver to catch a TD from Brady. Still, the Patriots went 11-5, which was seen as a disappointment for a Brady-led team. After a dominating divisional win over the Chargers, Brady delivered the line, "I know everyone thinks we suck and we can't win any games, so we'll see." That week, he walked into the facility and said, "I'm the baddest motherfucker on the planet." It was a rare sight for the Patriots to be an underdog, but that's what they were against the Chiefs in Kansas City. This one was another game for the ages. Brady completed his last 5 third-down attempts to move the sticks, gutting out a victory to advance to a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. Against a talented Rams team, Brady and the Patriots pulled out their 6th Super Bowl championship. That win put Brady alone at the top with the most Super Bowl rings by a player in history. Although 2019 was seen as a down year, the Patriots still finished 12-4. Brady had some great performances, but none of his receivers ranked in even the top 100 in the league in terms of separation, so the offense had a relative down year. When Brady moved to Tampa, he created another Super Bowl board. He had one in every house: LA, Boston, and Tampa. In his first season with the Bucs, he took a team to the playoffs that had the NFL's 2nd longest playoff drought of 13 years. At the age of 43, he threw for 40 touchdowns and advanced to the NFC Championship for a conference championship record 14 appearances. After a win, Brady saw one of his teammates crying. He went right up to them and said, "What the f*** are you crying for? We're not done yet." Then, leading up to Super Bowl 55, he texted his teammates every night at 11 p.m. with the same 3 words: "We will win." And right before the game, he delivered a pregame speech that Bucs teammates called epic and powerful. LaShawn McCoy would later say that if Brady told him to go walk on water and he wouldn't drown, then he would believe him. In Super Bowl 55, Brady threw for 3 touchdowns, adding a 5th Super Bowl MVP. He was the oldest player to play, win, and receive MVP in Super Bowl history. His 7th Super Bowl win surpassed every single franchise in history for the most all time. He also won a Super Bowl with the franchise in the Bucs that had the lowest winning percentage of all time. Of course, he also passed Michael Jordan in rings, like he once told Edelman. And it was later revealed that he played that entire season with a fully torn MCL. Meanwhile, the Patriots went 7-9 with a goat-sized hole at quarterback. In Brady's final season, at the age of 44, he led the league in touchdown passes with 43, and he led the league in passing yards. In his winning return to New England, he broke the all-time regular season passing yards record. His final game was a trademark comeback that ultimately fell short due to a baffling defensive play call. But his final touchdown was a 55-yard bomb over the best corner in the game. He finished his career with a record .769 winning percentage, including a 29-10 record without Bill Belichick. Meanwhile, Belichick remains under 500 in his career without Brady. At the end of it all, Brady has the most total wins of all time. He has the most playoff wins of all time and more than twice the amount of the next closest player. He has the most playoff touchdowns of all time. He has the most playoff passing yards of all time. He has the most Pro Bowls of all time. For advanced stats, he has the highest EPA, aka expected points added, and WPA, win probability added, in playoff history and career value as well. He played in a Super Bowl in 50% of his full starting seasons. That means he was more likely to make a Super Bowl than Michael Jordan was to make a shot. In those seasons, he made the conference championship game 14 times. That means there's a greater chance that Tom Brady would make the conference championship than any quarterback in history has of completing a pass. He has won more playoff games than 13 other franchises have even appeared in. If the divisional round were a season, then Brady would have gone 14-3 in that season. He has more than 1,800 yards in Super Bowl history than the next closest player. He has 10 more Super Bowl touchdowns than the next closest. No other quarterback played in the Super Bowl after the age of 40. Brady played in 3. At the time of his retirement, he played in 18% of all Super Bowls in history. With 86 postseason touchdowns, he has nearly twice as much as the next closest at 45. He has the most NFL starts of all time at 316, and a 12-4 season would lower his career winning percentage. He finished his career having gone at least 500 against every team in the league. He has the most wins against a single opponent with a 33-3 record against the Bills. He has the second most receiving yards of all time after turning 40. And yes, I said receiving. He played with and against players half his age, including some who weren't even alive when he was drafted. He also played with and against the sons of players he once competed with. During his career, 6 players were drafted into the league and inducted into the Hall of Fame at least 5 years after their careers ended. Other great quarterbacks like Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, and Eli Manning were all drafted after Brady, but Brady managed to outlast all of them, defeating the argument for his era being the main reason he was able to play for so long. In fact, he finished his career as the oldest player in the NFL by 4 years. And he was older than 13 NFL head coaches. In his final 5 years, ages 40 through 44, he led the league in total yards and touchdowns. In just his 40s, he won as many Super Bowls as Peyton Manning and John Elway. He ended his career with more than 10,000 total passing yards and over 100 more touchdowns than the next closest. He was selected to the 2000s and 2010s NFL All-Decade team. You can divide his career into 3 different parts, and each one would make the Hall of Fame. Finally, so many of Brady's peers have anointed him as the greatest to ever play. That list includes Joe Montana, John Elway, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Roger Staubach, Kurt Warner, Fran Tarkenton, Eli Manning, Boomer Esiason, Troy Aikman, Joe Namath, Jim Kelly, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Tony Dungy, Bill Belichick, Jerry Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Jim Brown, Randy Moss, Darrelle Revis, Reggie Wayne, Larry Fitzgerald, Deion Sanders, Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders. I could go on forever. The craziest thing about this list with 138 things is that I know some things were left out. There's just too many layers of greatness when it comes to Tom Brady, and he should be remembered for that for the rest of time.